Fucking Mercury.
Mercury's in the microwave.
Mercury is coming for me, y'all. If you don't see me next week, that's why. Mercury got me.
It's because we'll be on the camera, but Maria will just be blacked out because the camera can't work with her.
This is Other Maria, the podcast of our real-life conversations about personal evolution, society, relationships, spirituality, and everything else. We're getting vulnerable in these good faith talks and sometimes respectfully disagreeing about which of us is wrong. Just kidding, there's no right and wrong. We're just two friends sitting around talking shit. Wait, talking about deep shit, right? That's what we're doing? Yeah, enjoy.
Hey.
We're just gonna trust it's recording.
Did that help last time?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Cool. Hi.
Hey, girl. Hi, friends.
Hey, friends. Welcome in.
Episode 22, which is technically episode 3 of season 2 and overall episode 20. Because I fucked up all the numbers. So, how you living, girl?
I'm doing fine. Living life.
It's true.
Such a weird time. Oh my goodness.
It's been a weird ass week.
A weird ass week. Our asses have just been...
All the asses have just been weird.
Yeah. How you be?
It's hard to answer that because great.
Yeah.
Great, but on paper, it doesn't seem great.
On paper, it doesn't seem great?
I don't think so. Because if I tell you, one of my texts to you was, I love crying, right? And I said something similarly to Emma this morning, too. Of just
Crying is so good, though. What a good release.
Here's what I have to say about that.
Yeah.
Release is the perfect word.
Yeah.
I love this. Because part of the human experience, part of the emotional spectrum. Mm-hmm. And it's just weird that in our culture, our society, the way that humans have evolved at this point emotionally, we've stigmatized half of them.
Yeah.
And it's to be living the full human experience, you would think that crying would happen as often as laughing. And I really can tell you from personal experience, particularly this last year, the more I cry, the better I feel. Mm-hmm. As with laughing, it's the exact same thing. It's the same. It's in the same tier. They're just perceived as opposite.
Right. But that's the whole point, right? That we've missed as a collective for a while of you need the opposites of one another for balance. And so that's why it's just been so imbalanced.
Yeah.
And I feel like you can laugh more when you cry more.
Absolutely. There's a proportional
But sometimes you're
balance
just
to
not
them.
ready to let it out. And I understand that too. But when you are.
Well, and see, that's the thing though.
Yeah.
When you are, unless you're at a socially unacceptable place to laugh, like a funeral or something, which I don't even know why that's socially unacceptable.
No, people laugh a lot at funerals.
I know,
Yeah.
but because
it's
natural.
just sad and cry.
But it's also so natural to...
Your microphone.
What? Oh.
You got this.
I'm gonna go cry. But just you can't suppress any of those things. Mm-hmm. And I just think that so often people want to be I don't know why I'm crying or I shouldn't be crying.
Yeah.
And it's always in an effort to stuff it down. Mm-hmm. And I know that other people have made this comparison and I don't know who, but it's pooping. It just
get constipated.
Right, but if you have to go, you should just go. If you have to cry, just cry. And you also can't be I don't want to cry today. I cried yesterday. I don't want to poop today. I pooped yesterday. Just do it. It's a good release. It's natural.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And it's necessary.
No, for sure.
I say all
You're in your
that
crying
to
era.
make myself feel better about all the crying
Right.
I'm doing. I'm just kidding.
No, I'm really not trying to be an annoying devil's advocate. I was just like
Well, then
listening
shut up. I made her cry.
I just was listening to a talk recently where they were also saying the same thing of like, it's such a good release, but they also made the good point of like, and sometimes like your higher self or whatever kind of knows when you're not ready to deal with something. You're able, but like you're just not ready to. And so the stuff, you know, it's like sometimes people do, you know, stuff things down because they're not ready to like quite deal with it yet, or they're dealing with as much as they can and they're kind of getting there. But I do think like years and years of not crying is not optimal. It will be coming out sideways for a while until you're ready to cry.
Yeah. But to that point, I'm just any of it, crying, laughing, anything else. And I'm still training it out of myself, but like there's no need to force it either way.
Yeah.
You know? Like just because I feel sad about something doesn't mean I'm ready to cry about it.
Right.
And maybe I never will, but there's no need to force
Yeah.
either way.
Crying can be so tricky, man. I like my last therapy session, we did a really long somatic exercise, or people don't know that. It's like just working with your body essentially. And we did this whole like, I just sort of like gave like name and form and figure and presence to like the mean voices in my head. And for me, it became like a visualization thing because I was like visualizing it as like this red ball in the room, which really helped to be able to like interact with it. And every time like we'd get to something juicy, I'd feel the tears welling up, which was good. And I know about myself that that's like a really good sign because it just means like, oop, you got it. You got to the thing.
There it is.
But it was really hard to just like full out cry in front of her.
Sure.
You know? And so I did have to hold, like not have to, whatever the word, but I kind of had to hold it in a little bit because I was just like, I don't really want to full on cry in front of you right now. I didn't want to. I let myself not just fully hold it in. Like I wasn't just like, and like the tears are welling and they're falling down your face, but you're like, I'm fine, you know, like it wasn't that extreme at all. I figured out other ways to kind of breathe and still try to let it out some, but I was just not in the mood or place to want to cry in front of her. And that's not about her because she is a safe space, but it was just like, I don't know, crying is a weird one. I've thought about it a lot, and me and crying and the amount that I cry around others.
Yeah, you've talked about that.
Have I?
I mean, I remember you telling me about it a little bit, and I also remember it being part of the same conversation where you said that you feel uncomfortable when someone else is crying in front of you.
I used to. I haven't ever. Yeah,
Sure.
yes.
And that was surprising to me because I was like, oh my God, you always like...
Oh, sure.
I feel so comfortable. Well, I feel comfortable crying anywhere and everywhere, but...
It's true. It's such a strength.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But my experience with you was like, I feel so safe crying with you, not just because like you're my best friend and we have an already intimate relationship, but because you do handle me so well when I'm crying.
Mm-hmm. I've worked on that.
Yeah, and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But yeah, I
it's
think
still uncomfortable because there's still just this urge to like, well, it's morphed over time as I've worked on it. It's just really bringing consciousness to like, I feel uncomfortable because it's like when we were younger, it felt like the idea was like, oh, don't cry. You know, like, no, it's okay. It's okay. Don't cry.
Because if you're crying, something's wrong.
Sure. But I think it was also because people were uncomfortable in their own bodies and didn't have the other tool of like, you don't have to say anything. You can just feel uncomfortable and give space to the person who's crying. And it's okay that it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
But like, yes, there was definitely the like, it's not okay to cry, but also it's like, it's not okay for me to just sit here and not do something about it.
Right, because it is inherently problematic.
Sure.
It's a situation where something needs to be done.
Yeah. Something needs to be, you're going to try to fix it. And so like, sitting there quietly when someone cries is the most fucking awkward thing ever.
Love it.
It's so awkward. It's so awkward because you're just like, oh God, they're crying. Oh God, okay. You know, yeah, totally. I feel that way still.
Yeah.
I just know how to sit with the discomfort. And I'm just like, this is going to pass. We're okay. Like your discomfort's going to pass because they're not going to cry forever. Right. And the less you try to fix it, the faster it's going to go. And not to speed it along, but that just is true. If you just kind of let them cry and get it out, then the conversation will continue. You know, we'll continue on in a moment, but let them get it out and feel your discomfort and like, why do you feel so uncomfortable? Whatever. But
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and because it's sad. Yeah, it's just sad to watch someone cry sometimes. So you're just like, oh, I'm so sorry you're so sad. You know, and so you're just like, oh, I feel bad. Like I want to, and then it's like, I want to do something. I want to make you feel better. But I think that what we're all missing is that, like, the crying is the feeling better. So like, you don't have to, oh, I want to fix it. I want you to feel better right now. And it's like, I do feel better because I'm crying.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And then, it becomes the reverse of someone just being like, I'm so sorry. I'm crying right now. It's like, nah.
Oh, yeah. That hurts me.
Okay, so when I'm opposite, because for me, you can cry. I will deal with the discomfort. You should definitely let it out in front of me. I think because people do feel awkward and uncomfortable, but don't know what to do about it and like wear it on their face, even if at best they're not saying anything or trying to fix it. They're like, you know, like, or just, you can tell when someone else. No, sometimes you can tell if the other person's uncomfortable that you're crying. So they've probably been around people who who feel uncomfortable that you're crying and haven't sat with that themselves yet. So like, I'm uncomfortable. I'm not always uncomfortable when you're crying, by the way, just so you know, like,
and honestly, if you are, I don't give a shit.
No, totally. But what I'm saying is like, I don't, but if I do, like, the work is the fact that you don't know it. Because I want you to be able to have a space. I'm not all of a sudden taking it over with my feelings.
Sure.
Of like, make me feel better now because you're making me uncomfortable. Don't cry. Because like, that's the thing I would want to avoid. Not because I'm even judging or shaming that. If someone does feel that way, I feel that way. I'm like, oh God, they're crying. Oh no. But I worked on it by trying to be like, you're working on that inside. You can be feeling that in the exact same moment that they're crying. You can like, ooh, buddy. And then on my face, just be like, I got you. Because I want you to still have a safe space.
Right, and because the truth is, like, you do got them.
Yes, 1000%.
You just also have some, like, weird old shit programming running through your head that's making you uncomfortable.
And I can understand that some people where they're feeling how I feel, so I understand the feeling.
Which is very common.
Very common, I think. But
much more common than, like, my seeming brazenness to the whole thing.
Right.
Which is not true.
But I think then sometimes people wear that on their face, which is totally okay.
Yes.
And then the person feels like, I'm so sorry I'm making you uncomfortable. Right. Oh no, I'm sorry. So like, if someone does that, I'm very able to be like, oh my gosh, not at all. Like, please cry. Cry it out.
Let it out, girl.
I've got a couple friends in mind that I'm not going to say, but like, physically, I watch them hold it when they're starting to cry, and I just want to be like, but you know, that's not fair either. That's what I mean. It doesn't help either then to be like, just let it out. You know, that might not help. Oh, I can if I want to, but like, no, I can read it when it's the time where if I say that, it's not what they need to hear in the moment. Because they're feeling already so raw and defensive. That's as much as they can muster. They don't need to now hear me being like, no, let it out. Just let it out. Because then they're like, don't tell me what to do. Like, I'm having a moment. I'm really fucking sensitive right now. I don't now need to be told that I'm not doing it right. Like, I'm just saying that could be. Oh, interesting. That could be the way it's received when someone's in that very sensitive moment.
I've not had that experience.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I'm right because it's not like I've ever asked the person and then
there are different people.
But I have people in mind where it's like,
I've had the opposite where it's like I see someone welling up, and every time I'm just like, let it out, let's go. They crumble into my arms and stop.
100%. And these are not those people. True. Because I've had that too. Yeah. The people I'm thinking of specifically, I think it was more just like, that was the first time they were even willing to like well in front of me, that was enough. It's like, you're letting something else out that you've not usually let out in front of me, We don't need to like go all the way. Like,
Sure.
you know, sure, it'll feel good probably, but like I said, that'd be like my therapist being like, let it out. Even if I'd been like, yeah, I know, I probably in that moment gotten a little indignant, not mad at her, just in my head been like, I know I can let it out. I don't want to. I don't feel comfortable right now to cry really hard in front of you. I'm going to go do that at home. And like whether or not that'll ever morph, that's fair. I think that is already something that like I like a good cry sesh alone.
Yeah.
I really do.
Oh, I mean, those are quite honestly my favorites.
No, yeah, exactly.
But I think it's also like hearing you talk about it too. It's just so different for everyone. And I guess like the one thing that I do want to say is that I get the impulse to do so for any and every reason that has been programmed into us, whatever.
To hold it in.
Wait.
What's to do so? Okay. Oh, but okay.
But there is never, ever, ever, ever a need to apologize for crying. And
Sure.
it breaks my heart when people do.
Sure. There's a lot of things we don't need to apologize for.
I know, particularly as women.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I think you can't get through it until you've apologized to people who then tell you it's okay. You do not need to apologize. And that's how you start to relearn. You're like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, right. Like, crying is such a funny one that we've all suppressed. Oof.
Yeah. And quite honestly, I think the only reason I'm so comfortable with it is because I've been institutionalized several times and forced to do only that for months on end. So.
Fair. That'll teach you quick.
Very expensive skill.
Yeah, no, crying is crazy, man. Men need to cry. Everybody needs to fucking cry.
Let's all get together and cry. But conversely, no, you go.
Well, I was going to say conversely. I also, during this conversation, I'm like, and I need to put some attention on crying in front of other people. I've thought about it already
Yeah.
recently. It's not like I don't cry at all in front of people. That's like not true. But I don't just like...
What I can say about you,
Yeah.
and you're crying in front of me, there's got to be something that's beating down the door inside of you for you to even show it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you like cry on your own. That's great.
No, it's
So
true.
it's not like, and like there's no requirement. Nobody has to cry in front of anyone else. It's just that
But our relationship, though, yeah.
Right, but then it's just that there aren't actually any rules about it. So, like, you're allowed to cry when you feel like crying, no matter who's around.
Totally. But yeah, I don't access it very easily, I think, around other people.
Fair. But what I was going to say, like, conversely, though, like, when you asked how I've been, I feel like we've both been, like, very creative this past week, though, too. Because you were talking about, like you painted a lot. That was
What's
awesome.
a lot mean?
I don't know, for an hour or two.
Sorry, cool.
Yeah.
No, I
don't know
was
how long
not
that took you.
bothered by that. I was genuinely asking what the quantifier was because I was like, I painted once. But yes.
Okay, well, as compared
A lot of
to
time.
the month prior.
No, totally.
Yeah.
No, yeah. That's
You
a lot
did
for the
that.
year prior.
Yeah.
I painted. Yeah.
It was great.
I painted. That's so true.
And then we so we had a photo shoot for the podcast,
Oh my God. It was so much fun.
which was just so much fun.
Oh my God.
It was such a
Shout out to Ashley.
Hi Ashley. It was just such a creative, expansive, silly as fuck experience.
Oh my God. It was so fun.
And it just like had me absolutely lit up.
We need to shout out Ashley for real, for real.
She's a phenomenally talented photographer.
Ashley Kindlin. Look at me.
There she is.
She is fucking talented as fuck. And it was so much fun. Shoot, I don't know her Instagram.
I don't either. If you go into ours, though, we've messaged her.
Hello, good idea.
Hey, I'm a smart one.
You are the smart one.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Okay, ready? August Kin Studio. August Kin Studio. That's her Instagram.
At Instagram.com.
On the Instagram.
On the interweb.
Like, I love her pictures. Our photo shoot was
with her,
so lit. Oh my God.
Working with her was phenomenal.
Oh my. She understood the assignment.
Right? And we were so fucking vague about it too. We were just like, I don't know.
We're like, we're going to wear whatever we want, and we're going to do it here or not.
And we're going to do it on our time
frame.
And it's going to be weird.
Yep.
She nailed it.
Nailed it.
Anyway, so that was like a really amazing creative experience. And I feel like there was something else that I was doing. Oh, I don't know. Those were just some of the high points though.
No, the photography was so fun and such a cool experience because we were like in our heads and then everything. Oh, life is so weird. It's so challenging doing everything new, just doing everything differently.
Oh my God, literally everything new and different. Everything new and different. Oh, that's what I was doing.
There it is.
I was designing t-shirts.
You were designing t-shirts?
Yeah. So one
Amazing.
one of them is about everything new.
Ooh.
So I did our logo for the podcast.
Yes.
I did my logo for Courageous Design.
Yes.
I like all that shit. I always want my t-shirts to like say something. So I like got back into like designing t-shirts on the same app, and I have 2 for us. And I was playing with it last night. Okay, so I'm going to design t-shirts, but one of them it's about everything being new. And by new, I mean like new experiences in life. Like just do something different. Like last week, this is going to seem very trivial, but I knew I had to wash my hair that day.
Yes.
And I was going to wait till later.
Right.
But then I was going to go out in public.
Right.
And normally I just like go out scrubby and I hide from the world and I'm just like a troll. And I do make those noises.
It's true.
Because I like to make other people cry in front of me. It's a new way of entertaining myself. JK. But I'm also like trying to make myself available for my husband to find me. And so it was new for me to make myself presentable in like whatever way that means to me. Really, it just meant that I showered and washed my hair and shit and was not hiding under a hood and sunglasses before I left the house at 9 a.m. just in case I ran into him on the train, you know?
Obviously.
But that was new for me. I acknowledge that seems trivial, but it was a different way of operating with a different intention. Mm-hmm. And yeah. Just like little shit like that. It's not like, you know, go do something new, like go backpacking through Europe or jump out of an airplane. I mean, still do those things, but
yeah.
Just like little things that are new. Take a different route. Yeah, wash your hair and go outside in a different order. I don't know.
No,
Get
it's
a
true.
different kind of coffee.
It's true.
Why did I bring that up?
Being creative, and then you thought of your t-shirts by doing something new.
Yeah.
Wow, that was just dangerously close to me. Your legs are so long.
No, it wouldn't hit ya.
I wish you could see my angle.
My feet are clean, don't worry. Okay, so there's that. And then the other one, I forget where I first heard it, but perhaps we will touch on the 3D, 5D split. Because the other shirt that I want is that I was working on the design, but I wanted to make like the term I heard someone explain one time, and they were referring to like the generation of millennials. But if you put that in terms of like consciousness and whatnot, it's like everything was so like third density before. Mm-hmm. And like Gen Z is largely more fifth density. And like we're split in the middle, millennials. Mm-hmm. And someone was like, yeah, we're like the transition crew. Mm-hmm. And so I want to get like almost like sports team kind of looking jerseys.
Like the transition crew.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, millennials are special. Those of us that were here before and after the internet, and like strong memories of pre-internet, but then young enough to master the internet. Because the generation above us, my sister and brother, they're 12 and 14 years older than me. Like, they had the internet quite a bit after, like, we got... Or,
They didn't get a cell phone until they were like 30, right?
Surely. Or like late 20s, and didn't have internet in the home ever through high school, like with their parents. And I didn't have, obviously, internet. And I know neither did you. And I didn't get the internet in my house until I was in 8th grade. And I've always known that, because whatever you can call it, millennial, blah, 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 everybody fights about the years. That doesn't matter. It's just really like, were you 10 or older when the internet came to your house? Maybe like 12 or older. Basically, maybe before high school, because then you go to high school and have the internet. And that's the years where you're really learning how that stuff worked, because the internet was not what it is now, kids. Because everybody was learning what it was. And like Gen Z will never quite understand, because like, whatever, people know, we all know. But like, yeah, there wasn't apps, there wasn't smartphones. The internet was this thing that you had on your computer. You needed a phone line for it. You couldn't just go on it 24/7. You had to like use it. And it was just so new. I remember I was telling someone recently, like, I was the one who set up our internet, and I turned off the parental controls, like my parents didn't have any idea what I was doing.
Yeah, no, it was such an interesting thing, because I think that we were in this unique space of like, we became fluent in it as soon as we could, but also because it was so clunky and rudimentary, we never took it for granted.
Totally.
Like previous generations probably did, like with phones. We were like, oh, this is this cool new thing that I kind of have to work for.
Right.
And like there's like all these like other things that play into it. So it was kind of like we understood the value of it. And remembered what life was like before it.
Right.
Because I also think that the older generations, from like what I observe with my parents and whatnot, and like, don't get me wrong, like they all, like not just my parents, but like, their friends and my other relatives and everyone, they lean on it just as much as we do.
Sure.
But I do get the sense though that like, as much as they might be like cranky about it if it like ever disappeared, hypothetically, but they could adapt back so easily.
Totally.
Because they lived most of their lives without it.
Totally.
And we're right in the middle. It was just such an even split.
But I'm so like consumed by the anxiety of it, because, okay, this thing's coming to mind.
Yay. Anxiety.
Have you seen Fever Pitch?
No.
Okay. This isn't giving anything important away from the movie, but it is a spoiler alert, and it's a romantic comedy. We all understand. I've seen it many times. My college roommate loved it, and we used to watch it back then more. And it's this whole movie that's like themed by the Boston Red Sox. And I was living in Boston. Yeah. It's Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore.
You told me about this before. Okay,
yes.
go ahead.
This part I didn't even remember. And my boyfriend and I just recently watched it, and I haven't seen it in several years now.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Fallon's character doesn't have a cell phone. Oh. So the movie's in 2004.
Okay.
But he's one of those ones where you're getting teased because you're like that person who doesn't have a cell phone.
Right.
But like that literally doesn't happen anymore. I'm sure there's someone out there that doesn't have one, but it's like 1 out of like 1,000,000 when it used to be like 1 out of like 100 back then, where it was just like you were still like, by 2004 it was like, what are you doing? But you could still get away with it. And you were like, yeah, I just like don't have one. And they were still just like flip phones or Blackberries or like whatever.
Right. It was the holdouts that were still...
It was the holdouts.
Still believing that it was just going to be a fad.
Well, and...
Like a pager.
And that we're understanding they didn't want to be that reachable.
Sure.
That's what it was. Because actually, now that I think about it, my sister's ex-boyfriend, he didn't have one. And that was in that same range. And it was because of their age, too. They were the ones who were like my sister's age. So maybe like in the movie, they referenced that he was born in 1980. So in 2004, how old was he? What's that math? 24? 80. Sorry. I'm having a moment because there is no fucking way he was supposed to be 24. He was like a teacher. Wait, that math makes no sense. Oh, I'm sorry. He definitely was like my sister's age. In 1980, he was a young kid, and that was the first time he went to the ballpark. JK. So he was probably like 30 in 2004.
Great.
So that's also why it was like you were an adult who could make your own choice. So maybe it was you thought it was a fad, but it was also more like, I don't want to be available all the time. When I'm home, you can call me. When I'm out, I'm out and I'm unavailable. You'll get me when I'm home. It was that attitude. And so anyway, there's a part in the movie where she really needs his attention and they're like across the ballpark and she's like, oh, you idiot. Why don't you have a cell phone? Because she can't just like call him from across the park and get him to look at her. And I was like, this is just a plot line that a 20-year-old would just be literally like, what are you fucking talking about? That someone just doesn't have a cell phone. Right. Because even calling it a cell phone, like you call it an iPhone or an Android. Like, you know what I mean?
Or
it was like
phone.
The phone. Yeah, you just like, where's your phone? Like, because they weren't even smartphones back at this movie. They were just a way to call each other. Right. Yeah, of course you could text back then. But again, it was like, you got charged to text.
I would say, but you paid for each
text.
One.
10 to send, 2 to receive. Yeah, it was 10 to send, 2 to receive.
Wow. But anyway, like not even technologically speaking, but just I think that there's so much else that we are consciously or not sort of like the middleman for.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Of like awareness and consciousness and spirituality and all kinds of
totally
shit, like the way that the patriarchy turning into whatever the fuck's gonna happen next, like
100%. And the fact that we're like not, the internet is awash with all the jokes about boomers, and like no offense to boomers, they're very like sensitive right now, rightfully so, because we're coming for them. But like I put one up recently and it was all these like older generation people line dancing, and then over it just said like boomers celebrating after selling their house for $2 million when they bought it for 7 pineapples or something like that. I know, it's so dumb. Yep. But it is just like, it's not like they had it easy either. That's right. Why I understand why they feel sensitive that we're coming for them. They did not have it easy, but they really did have this different, none of us can afford houses. We're all having children later. Like,
or not at all because we can't afford them.
Or not at all because we can't afford them. Like, and then we're getting this like judgment. There was this like idea of this judging us that we're like lazy, or we don't,
to be fair,
blah, blah, blah.
millennials get blamed for everything.
Yeah,
there are so many headlines of like millennials ruin this, millennials are making this choice, millennials like are ruining napkins or whatever it was.
Right. I feel like there's even headlines of like millennials don't want houses. You know what I mean? Like then they start twisting it that way, and it's like,
right.
What do you mean I don't want a house? I'm not just trying to be. This is what it is. It's not like I'm just trying for the sake of it to be counterculture. Now I'm starting to frame it that way, to feel the consciousness of it all and to understand the bigger picture of what's going on. But like, I'd fucking own a house if I could. And it's not because I'm lazy. And it's not because I can't go earn money. And I'm not saying I won't own a house. Right. But I also can't earn money the way that older generations did.
Well, it's not that you can't. It's that the world isn't set up to allow for that anymore.
That's what I mean.
Right.
Yeah, it's not an I can't. It's a broader can't, whatever. And that's what the disconnect I feel with my mom a lot. And she's great. She's trying and all the things. But it's really hard for them to understand. I'm really generalizing. But the best they can do is sometimes be like, no, I know, things really are different. But then it kind of stops there, and they're not quite diving into like why it's so different, or being curious with us about the experience of the difference. Sure. Because it's hard for them to understand.
Right, and that's what I was going to say too, is like I couldn't expect them to understand is kind of how I feel, but I think it's tough. And I don't think I have this like specific experience like with my parents, but like more generally, it's like I don't expect you to understand why it's different, but I do expect you to trust me when I tell you my experience is different. And I feel like I have enough of an understanding of the world that generation set our generation up for, and then bursting out into the world and finding that that's not the world. You know, so I feel like I can speak to both.
Yeah.
Only because, and no blame at all.
No.
To anyone. Mm-mm. But just like, I think I have a better understanding of what was supposed to happen because of how they set us up. And then being confronted with what is versus them just still sort of operating in what they understood was supposed to happen, because it is still largely applicable for them. Because like they still have Social Security and pensions and they have their homes already, you know? Like they're not on the market. It was actually, oh my gosh, it was actually so cute. I truly forget which one of my parents this was, but like when I was gonna move into this apartment, it was really cute. One of my parents was like, is there a refrigerator at your place?
Oh, yes. Oh my God, I remember. It was your dad.
Was it?
Yes.
Hi, Dad, love you.
Yeah.
Poor guy. I like looked at him like he had a horn coming out of his head. I was like, what kind of a question? Like, of course it has a toilet too. Like, that's what was in my head. But then we talked about it and it was like, first of all, the difference between the last search for housing that he did was like owning a home, and like that option is more present in buying property. Like there may or may not be appliances in a home that you are buying. Right. But then he was also like, you know what? I assume not, but also I haven't rented, because I was just like, oh my God, Dad, of course. Like there's always a refrigerator in a rental. Like it's, I was not like that, but just to exaggerate. Then he was like, yeah, I haven't looked to rent a place in so long. And I think for many of them, like the closest reference points that they have to making any of the changes that they are expecting us to make is from 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, yes, I understand that you keep telling me that it should be this way. It should be this way. You prepared me for this way. And again, this is not about my parents specifically, but like at large in the media and the newspapers, and they're like, why aren't you making this choice that we prepared you for? And it's like, that isn't available anymore.
I guess that's what I meant by the like not understanding. And I want to expect the way that you are very graciously expecting them to at least just trust you. Like I really want that. And actually I might start focusing more on just that approach. But yeah, I yearn to be understood. That's just something about me. And it's like, I wish they were a little more curious about it rather than judgmental. And again, this is at large. This is also just trauma talking. I'm sure a lot of that generation do understand. But I appreciate when they're more curious about it and more open to like just listening to what experience we're having. Because it's so different from there and all other generations before that for like the last 100 years in America. Absolutely. I should say in America, the last 100 years in America. Because I know every generation's different from the last, yes. But boy, oh boy.
But this one's been exponentially different.
It's a whole new planet.
In regards to so many different things.
Yep. And it's ever since the internet. The internet's just a good marker. And that's why we're an interesting generation. We are the middle. Yeah. Holdovers, like you said. We're the holdovers, hashtag transition crew, because everyone after us was going to never know what it was to not have internet. And there were people before us who didn't start internet till much later, and it just wasn't their pivotal learning developmental years. And because we're the bridge, because we can communicate with the kids who've only ever known internet. And then we can understand and laugh with the older generation that don't know what's going on the internet right now. Like Instagram, say, right? And like we can communicate with them like from the lens of pre-internet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just wild.
No,
it's really, really weird.
It's very trippy to think about.
Yeah. I like love it, but I definitely have resentment about it. But that's getting worked out. I just do. Because I'm just like, man, that's frustrating sometimes.
Yeah.
It was frustrating. It's frustrating from that place of leadership. that you and I have talked about, like that place of being like a way shower, whatever. You have to make it up on your own then. You don't have a template. And so it's just exhausting sometimes. Where you're just like, man, I am just making this up as I go. Yeah, no, all the time. This is like what we're dealing with right now. Just like leaning into the frustration the last few days. Just like, this is so annoying. Like, I am trying to do everything different. And the people in our generation who are trying to do everything the same way our parents did are struggling. Because that doesn't work anymore. But it's not like we're having an easier time.
No.
Everybody's just having a very hard time right now. And I feel for all of us. That's all.
Because everything is new every single day.
Right. And all the ways to do things are different. And this is no judgment in any direction. Because you can be doing things the old way. That's not a judgment. Just like doing things the old way and fucking loving it. And you can be doing things the new way and fucking loving it.
Another thing, to be fair, is like the world that we were raised to grow up into.
Yeah.
The
pension, house, Social Security,
all that.
Kids, yeah.
Some people in our generation have nailed it.
Nailing it.
Great.
Totally.
Some of them are having a grand old time. Some of them started it and are now hitting a wall that they're very unhappy and can't do it anymore, which is very confusing for them. But I do think that one thing that I will say that is a little frustrating is when I'm speaking to people like the older generations that are coming at me with a little bit of judgment, like to point to those people in our generation that are doing it. And I'm just like, they are the exception. They are not the norm.
No, yeah, man, it's tricky out here.
What was the word you just used? The way showers?
Yeah, leaders, way showers.
Whatever, yeah. The thing without the blueprint, though, it is
exhausting. So exhausting.
So exhausting, but like, I can't get over, like, it's exhausting, but like in such a fascinating way to me. It's like nothing I've ever experienced.
That's okay. All good.
No, it's amazing because I'm drained often in a very unfamiliar way. It's not physical. It's not necessarily mental. And like sometimes I will like come at myself and be like, I don't know why I'm so tired. And then if I zoom out for a minute, it's like, oh, because you're like expanding in this brand new way without any type of roadmap, just trying to create a life that is so different from every model around you of what life is. And I can't really describe what that tired is, but I'm very in touch with like the energetic exertion of like creating something brand new that we are doing
every day.
And we're not the only ones, so shout out to everyone else that's doing that.
I mean, I feel like it is like actually everyone, because even the ones who are...
Well, okay, sorry.
Like,
the shout out was to the people that are aware that they're doing it. Everyone is doing it. So thank you for your participation, whether you know it or not.
Yeah. No, fair. But I just mean even like, yeah, no, what you said. It's just so crazy. Everything is so new and so different. Every fucking way you look at it. It's so wild out here in these rising consciousness streets.
Flopping back and forth between 3 and 5D.
No. Shout out Lego Batman.
I sat my ass down and watched that this week.
I remember.
Yeah.
What a masterpiece.
Fucking masterpiece.
What a masterpiece of a film. You want to tell everybody about 3D and 5D? Since you've referenced it twice now.
No, I was hoping you would.
Oh, yeah, well.
I'm just kidding, you don't have to.
You said we weren't going to talk about it.
I said I didn't have much to say.
Okay, it's checking out then. It's just this concept that like the consciousness level is raising on the planet right now. And there's like different, like you can say dimension or you can say density. It's all just different measuring systems. That's how I'd like to think about it, like centimeter versus inch.
Hi, Wendy.
Hey, Wendy Kennedy. That's how I like to think about it. Way to call me out. But the idea is that it's not dimensions like we think of in math, where it's like a 3D model and then 4D is time. It's not that either. But it's just a concept about how basically like where our consciousness level has been. And the idea is that for the last several thousand years, we've been in like third dimensional, third density energy. And that we're now, right now, kind of transitioning into fifth dimensional energy. And as Maria and I have been going over a lot the last couple of days, like what is fourth dimension or fourth density? Because
it always seems to get lost.
It gets lost in the mix when you're learning about this stuff. And we're now starting to understand that fourth dimension, density, whatever, is sort of a plane there to like jump between third and fifth, because 3 and 5 are so different from one another. And the idea about fifth density is that it's like you're much more aware of your oneness with like source, the universe, God, the infinite, everything, each other, just like you really actually feel that oneness much more. And it's not that it's better, that's a whole other episode. It's just different. And the very important part about 3D is that it's physical. It's a physical dimension where you can come and like incarnate and, you know, incarnate, reincarnate, whatever, but like you have a physical form and there's a physical reality and we have physical things around us. And as you go up in these dimensions, you can have like beings that are light bodies. I'm really talking. Okay. And you know, you can have.
And if any of that makes you uncomfortable, cry about it.
That sounded like a threat. But yeah, so like basically wrapping it up here. So like you can have non-physical form, blah, blah, blah. And we're really getting into the aliens here. And basically where we are right now, this fourth density, it's really challenging because like you can step into that 50 energy. You can access it right now. You can feel more like this oneness and like this peace and all this stuff. But then you're also still having to like interact with this physical dimension and like the way that things are set up here right now. That's why like a lot of the systems are starting to break down. And like for me personally, everyone's really scared that like our future is terrible and the earth looks worse than it ever has. For me, I think Maria agrees, a lot of it's just the dark shit coming out so that we can clear it. Because like if you don't know the shit's going on in the dark, then you can't fix it. So that's why there's crazy shit happening all over the planet and we're all much more aware of it and we're freaked out. And we all feel that sense that like shit's not right. This doesn't,
like something's wacky. Something's wacky and unfamiliar.
And I will argue strongly that a lot of the stuff that's wacky, it's been there already. Just to be like very basic, like the government. Not even to be like a fucking conspiracy theorist. Like it's not working right for us. Otherwise we'd all have security and safety and we'd all not be lacking for anything and we would be being taken care of. And we all know it's corrupt. And I think at the worst, when you're very, very in the fear, which is a great place to be because at least then you're kind of like waking up to something, you're very scared that it's like suddenly corrupt. You know, like...
Right.
Like this is new. It's newly corrupt. When really it's just that you're just seeing it. But it's been this way for a long time. And it's good that you're seeing it. Because if you weren't seeing it, we couldn't do anything about it. And whatever doing is, we won't get into that. But I'm just saying, it won't shift or change if you can't see it. So that's the consciousness coming about.
Right.
And so right now, there's this fourth density energy that Maria and I are working with where it's like you can pull into that fifth dimension stuff, feel the connectedness, feel really good and peaceful and all these things. And then you're like, have to go do your taxes.
You're like toggling back and forth between the two. And the explanation that I heard that I loved so much was just like, the reason that like 4D gets lost in those conversations so much, God. Wait, what I want to say though about the whole thing is that it can sound really like trippy and woo-woo, and it just isn't. I don't even know that it's even like spiritual. It's more just about like the science of consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that the reason why, I mean, we talk about this a lot. I know I talk about it a lot. I don't know that I want to find a new word for spiritual anymore. I don't know that that's the solution, but I've always had that draw because it's something I think on purpose was made to seem cheesy /
agreed
/ co-opted by
cults.
Well, cults and organized religion, but like really like not trying to like hate on that shit too hard, just saying, so all of us have religious trauma, all of us. And so all of us, since we have it, even now trying to say spiritual, half the people I talk to are like coming from really awful childhood religious experiences.
Yeah.
So they just immediately shut down. And I get that. So that's why it's like,
I lived in that space for
totally
maybe
no,
a decade.
I know, you know, right? Like,
Yeah.
no, she lived in that space for maybe a decade. And that's why it's like science and spirituality are the same fucking thing, but we've separated them.
Right.
And that's something that we're working back together. I know so many people are on the same page as us. And even the ones who are a little skeptical are totally softening. It's just
Will you
like
say
what
that
Maria
again
just said.
for everyone?
Science and spirituality are the same fucking thing.
Thank you.
They're intrinsically linked.
Hashtag Quan.
Oh my God, I remember I dated that really annoying dude last summer, 2 summers ago. I'm not going to say his name. Who touted to be
Russian
so religious. I mean, religious, sorry. Russian dance. So spiritual.
Yeah.
And so like Buddhist, wasn't it? Maybe like Hindu, but like he was just so like studied like spirituality, not like a religion, but like spirituality, and like had all these concepts and like would get annoyed with me for like standing my ground on my own feelings and thoughts about things. And I remember, because he would do these lectures, not like lecture me, but like a lecture, like a student hall lecture at me. And he was doing one of these lectures at me, and he was like, because science and spirituality are two very different things. He like said it to me, and of all people, and that's
And
when
you
I
were
was
like,
like,
how do I
red
swipe
flag.
left on you?
Yeah, now, like, how do we go back in time? Because I was just like, excuse me? Now, some of you might think that, that's fair, but you are not touting to be who this person was touting to be.
Sure.
And I was like, you're saying that to me? Okay, red flag. Like, I can, oh my gosh. But anyway, that's all to say, like, that's why, like, the last several years, too, have been so hard watching the science debates and stuff, because science is getting shut down. Like, scientists with different ideas, but the whole idea is there's supposed to be this black and white, right and wrong truth that science will prove. But, like, you can't do that. And you can do it to the best of your ability, and you can have conscious discussion. Like, that's what science is.
Right.
Not every scientist agrees. Even when they decide on a working truth, they're still debating things.
Yeah, I guess like we've turned science into like proof of fact and truth, which is actually never what it was.
Right.
And if you go back to like the scientific method and forming a hypothesis and then designing something around it to come as close to the truth as we could possibly understand, that's what science is.
Right.
It's not like the cold hard truth of everything that we can prove and see and touch. And what's so interesting too about like what you're saying is there is a lot now being proven through science to the same degree that other things have been proven and accepted for so long, but that are showing the overlap of science and spirituality.
Absolutely.
So much is being proven to the same degree that gravity was proven, but it's being rejected and censored and stigmatized and labeled as crazy
Disinformation.
or disinformation or
Information.
irresponsible or conspiracy,
yeah.
lunatics,
No, and that's,
et cetera, et cetera.
yeah. So that's all to say, when we talk about spirituality on this podcast, it's like,
We're talking about science.
yeah, seriously,
Kind of, yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
It's just, it's taboo to study right now. And like, people are studying it. It's just getting really, really shoved down right now. And like the woo-woo-ness of it is getting louder because more people actually are believing these things or curious, or because also the whole point is that like we have a lot of like internal technology, because the word technology has even become external technology. And there's a lot of internal technology that we've had shut off from us.
So much. Oh my God.
And so trying to find the truth, I was having a conversation with somebody that was very staunchly like, but the truth is the truth. Like there is a truth. And I was being annoying because that's who I am. And I was just like, and especially in like the lens we were talking about it through, it doesn't matter what that was, but I was just like, I was trying to push back. And then I was listening to Wendy Kennedy, and she said, truth is always colored by perspective.
Always.
And that's the way to think about it. That's the whole point. I'm not saying there are no universal truths. I'm not saying there aren't truths that like 99% of humans will agree on as our collective perspective truth. That's not like that doesn't exist. And still, there can be that 1% who's not going to see that as their truth. So how can we say there is an empirical truth about really anything? Which is like kind of a terrifying concept. I get it.
Sure. Yeah.
But worth exploring.
Yes, always. Always. Just chew on that for a while.
Yes.
Oh, there was a Kyle call a couple weeks ago. It was essentially about like, there's like the circumstantial truths of things, and then there are all the ultimate higher truths of like love and light.
Sure.
And there was a couple examples that I can't really remember, but I guess like one that was kind of a good example, and I actually don't even remember if it was from that call, even though that call was all about that. It's just like, if I'm upset about something, it's true that I have that feeling, but that doesn't actually speak to the truth of the situation. Right? And those things can be in conflict. And it was sort of pointing to like the fact that those things don't agree points to just like how much variation there could be in the truth. Like for one person's experience, it can be so different.
And your truth changes over time. So like,
sure,
there can't be an empirical truth. If like you look back on your childhood and for many years, you're like, my parents were the worst parents I've ever had that ever were, or like, I could never forgive them for what they did to me. And then one day you forgive them and you're like, oh shit, I see that they were just human beings too with their own experiences. It changes your entire truth. It changes your entire perspective. It changes your past.
Right. And similarly, there can be like a conflicting truth of like, hypothetically, like I had a picturesque, wonderful, beautiful childhood, and I was so incredibly traumatized by it.
Yes.
Both of those things can be true.
Right. That's the other thing. I mean, if two things can be true, which is what we're all playing around with right now.
Right.
How could there be one empirical truth?
Absolutely. The other thing that I'm thinking of as we're having this conversation too is that we make true good and false bad. True is right and false is wrong. And that's not it at all.
Right.
Some 3D bullshit.
Trippy. So everything is wrong. No, I'm just kidding. No, everything is untrue. No, I'm just joking.
It's all a lie. It's a hologram.
Man, what a nutty episode.
Oh.
Thanks for riding along, y'all.
You're welcome.
I don't know how this will be received. In a good way, I'm saying. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, great.
Hey.
Over the Easter holiday, I went to dinner at my parents' house, and I was sitting with an aunt from my mom's side and an aunt from my dad's side. And one of them has listened to all the episodes and the other one had not. And the one that had not was asking me about it. And then the aunt that's heard them all was like, oh, yeah, you should listen. They cover some... And I was like, yeah, we're pretty controversial. And my aunt was like, oh, okay, great. And I was like, oh, shit, she doesn't know what she's in for.
Yeah. And all over the place with these topics. Here we are.
Oh, completely all over the place.
Love it. Yeah, man. Good convo. It's exciting times. As dumpster fiery as it is. Dumpster fires are very exciting.
Yeah, man, just put on your fucking...
dumpster hat.
I was going to say like your fire suit or something.
Put on your hazmat
extinguisher.
Put on your hazmat suit.
I was going to say hazmat, and then I was like, are those fireproof?
Absolutely. Aren't they like everything proof?
I don't know.
I made it up. I feel like they're everything proof.
Okay, great.
Because like the chemicals might explode on you.
Sure.
I have no idea. Put on your spiritually hazmatic suit. No, just kidding.
Hazmatic. We're losing it, y'all.
Oh my God. Honestly, sorry about it. Go easy on yourselves.
Yeah, that's all I was going to say.
That's really it.
It's like,
just be...
do yourself the kindness of not wondering why you're exhausted.
Yeah, oh, man, amen. And be very kind to yourself for feeling, whenever you feel like you're being selfish, man, put yourself first. It's okay.
Always.
That is so helpful to all of us.
Yeah, do you know how happy I get when my friends are like, I'm just gonna
take care of myself today.
Take a nap and
take a nap. Yeah.
Paint something and
totally
get a massage. I'm just like, yes,
thank God.
I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take amazing care of yourself. I love you so much.
Yeah, it's so helpful to everybody.
Yes. Fucking Mercury.
Mercury's in the microwave.
Mercury is coming for me, y'all. If you don't see me next week, that's why. Mercury got me.
It's because we'll be on the camera, but Maria will just be blacked out because the camera can't work with her because the...
If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and most importantly, share. This episode was hosted by Maria and Maria. Theme music composed and performed by Maria. Logo design by Maria. Recorded and produced by Maria. Snacks provided by Maria. Moral support provided to Maria by Maria.